foreign-born labor, the foreign-born labor force, is shrinking, down more than 1 million workers in 2 months. Here now is Doug Flynn, co-founder at Flynn Zito Capital Management. So I say it's a separate question because it's like you can have a political view on all of this, and then you have to look at the impact. As we cover or talk about stories like that all the time. Like we had an economist on after the jobs report. He says, yeah, we're starting to see this a little bit. So there seems to me there's going to be some impact. It's a question of what that impact is.
Yeah, it's a couple different fronts. One is there's definitely less people coming in, so that impacts it. There also, you know, when it comes to like quantifying this, it's very hard because even though the U.S. Unemployment rate, they don't ask for citizenship when they're taking their surveys. People are even afraid to answer surveys because they fear that they're going to be on a list now and they're going to be sought out. So even the data is getting a little bit questionable, but there's no question that the employment growth in those areas where a lot of undocumented people work has slowed way down. The amount of people coming in is way down, and people are now not showing up at the places they used to show up for work. So it's going to have an impact. It's just hard to quantify it because of those reasons.
So California, you would think, just by the numbers in terms of how many immigrants are in the state and kind of industries that are in the state would be affected. What would you? Where do you expect this specifically to show up? Like we talked about Home Depot, it's kind of interesting, and we saw the reasons why that's in the mix. But what about industries where we should be watching for an economic impact?
Well, I think a lot of where it shows up is in the small business areas of companies that might be, like your landscaping company is a classic example of where it definitely has an impact. And it's hard to have good people anyway, and then you have less people in which to do that. And look, everyone is really on the same side of the fence from the standpoint of we need workers, we want workers, the businesses want workers, people want to do that. It's just that the system has been broken for so long. And look, there is a legal way to do this. If you claim asylum, you can apply for a work permit, but that takes months and months and months. And so it's not the real, right, correct, long-term solution answer, but that's the government saying now we just follow what we have in place, but they haven't fixed anything to actually handle the need. And we want this fixed. We want, legal immigrants. We need people to work here, and without that, it's going to have some impact. So industries like that on a smaller scale will definitely have an impact, and it's going to show up in anywhere where those types of workers do make their living.
Well, even President Trump in the past, certainly before he got into politics, would be someone who would have said, I think he's been on the record saying, yeah, we need more immigrants for business. And just about anybody who runs a business, as he did in real estate, will tell you the same thing. Now, it's just, that's why, and I don't know how much you want to get into the politics of all of this, but that's why I think that is a legitimate political question. And I think this is why the public support is breaking down this way. When you say to people, all right, we're going to go after people who are criminals, okay, you're polling really, really high for obvious reasons, right? People say, people agree, all right, let's do that. But when you go to this next step, I think that's one of the reasons that the polling is not as clear, because people realize, A, they might have family interest or they might have their own interest, but people realize that it could affect their communities, their economies, all that kind of thing.
It does, and I also think it sheds light on the fact that, I don't know how many decades Congress has had to do some kind of revisions and make some laws that make some sense. And it's just another further reminder of how inept the government is. We are on the same page on a lot of these things, and there should be a proper and legal way to do it. And the system we have in place is broken. We've talked about it a long time, but where these workers are going to go, they're going to go elsewhere. I mean, it's not like all the unemployed Americans are going to fill in all those jobs. Maybe some of that happens, and there are legal ways to do things, but that process is horrible. It's long and arduous, and it doesn't impact all these people. So we need a solution, and I don't think we're going to get it, but this is obviously playing to what he ran on, and that's where it's showing up right now.
Give me two quick thoughts before the bell. Okay, we got closing bell. The inflation data today, and the China trade announcement, and what you made of it, real quick.
Yeah, so CPI is what we're looking at, but the headline number is is the number that you see there at 2.4, but it really only went up from 2.31 to 2.35. So they rounded, and in fact, if you look at the last 4 months, the total inflation is only 0.4. So for 4 months, so annualized, you have over a 1% inflation. Inflation's low. They're going to have to cut rates. I don't know what they're waiting for.
Real quick on China. And what they came out of London.
The market today is waiting for something more solid. That's what we need. Sounds good, so let's see it in reality, and that'd be a great thing.
It would be, yeah, because the tariff rates will stay high, but there's some other stuff that looks positive. So
yes.
I think, yeah, we do need more. There's the bell ringing at the New York Stock Exchange. Thank you, Doug, 4 p.m.